Welcome to Building Families in the Faith. I'm Brian. This is my lovely wife, Rebecca, and we're glad to be with you once again today. We've been talking about divorce and the main reasons for divorce recently, and today we're going to go on to the other aspect of things and talk a little bit about love. So we're excited about this.
Yes, very. I think it's important now that we've talked so much about divorce. Let's fix it and bring a little love in.
Most people, of course, the movies and everything, when they teach about love and they show love, they show it as passion. And although passion has some to do with love, it's not the main thing. Of course, we have in Ephesians, very well-known verses where God is telling the husband and the wife and the children. He's talking about all relationships there, but we have the commandment for the the husband to love his wife. In Colossians 3, we also have that same commandment for the man, the husband, to love his wife. And then in 1 Peter 3:7, we find another passage where we are instructed as men, as the husbands, to dwell. The verse says, "Likewise, ye husbands, dwell with them," speaking about your wives, "according to knowledge, giving honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel, and as being heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers be not hindered." Now, a lot of women, a lot of feminists have a problem with the Bible here saying giving honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel. And they don't understand what the Bible is really trying to teach here. We as men, if we have something out of plastic, we're not going to be too cautious with it. However, if it's made out of glass, weaker vessel, it's going to break. The way you deal with it is differently. It's not that the wife is less important. It's not that the wife is less of a human being or anything like that. It's the way we're supposed to treat them and deal with them.
Right.
But the love, we as husbands especially are commanded to love our wives. Of course, the wives are supposed to love the husbands as well. There's Gary Chapman wrote a good book about the 5 love languages.
Excellent book.
And it gives you an understanding of different ways of how we can understand and how we can show a love to each other. And of course, I'm not going to take all the time here necessarily to go through each of those 5 love languages. That's not the intent here. But what I do want us to understand is that we do need to learn each other.
Right.
We do need to learn each other and see the needs, see the desires, and be able to love each other as the Bible teaches us. But the Bible teaches that God so loved the world that He gave. It's an action. True love is not a passion only, but it's something we do. It's an action that we demonstrate one towards another.
Yes. And it isn't something that you're going to figure out in a short amount of time. You go into marriage, this is a lifetime of learning and practicing, because especially as you read the love language book, the 5 love languages by Gary Chapman, you will discover that more than likely you and your spouse speak 2 different love languages. And so at the beginning you can very often be doing something and the spouse is not recognizing what you're doing as love, and it can be very frustrating. So I would really recommend you read the book, because he goes into great detail, and you just can't put into detail in a short time what he did in the whole book. You need to read this book and learn that, guess what? Just because you express love a certain way does not necessarily mean people are understanding it as love. And that's a big portion of arguing in marriage, a lack of truly feeling like you're not loved. And I think part of the reason that sometimes, quite frankly, men and women are completely flabbergasted and surprised when a husband or a wife walks out of a relationship, because they really didn't know there was anything wrong. And part of it is this complete inability to express love in a way that a person you're dealing with can understand it.
And that's why the Bible commands us to deal with them with understanding. My my wife, of course, grew up in America, and therefore her first language was English. And it's very natural for her to speak English, of course. I grew up in a dual culture, so I grew up with both my, or two first languages, I guess you could say. And it's very easy for me to speak both English or Portuguese. And ideally, what we want to do is learn all of the forms that we can show our love. Because our love is not only supposed to be shown to our wives, of course, or to our husbands, it's also going to be shown to our children. And they're not going to have the same love languages that we do or that our spouse does. Right. And so ideally, just like the gifts of the Spirit, we're supposed to develop all of them in our lives. We're also supposed to develop all forms of showing love. A newly married couple, one might have let's say, what Gary Chapman calls just the service. And another one would be words of affirmation. Someone who's doing a lot for you and trying to show them love, and the other person who likes to hear words of encouragement and words of affirmation. If they don't learn each other, if they don't not study each other, if they don't learn both languages, they're going to get very frustrated.
Absolutely.
Because one's doing a lot and is not being recognized for it, is not being understood that that's how they show love. And also, another key portion of this is not that we know our love languages so other people can show us love. That's not at all what we're supposed to be trying to do. The key here is that we, as individuals, learn all languages so that we can show love. We've grown up in a very selfish environment, a very selfish culture today. And we want for ourselves, we want others to show us love, we want others to show us kindness, and others to do for us. And so we very rarely develop the knowledge and the work that it takes to understand others, to understand how they feel loved, and to understand better how to show that love to them. And I don't speak Japanese by any stretch of the imagination. I can say the first six numbers in Japanese, and I think I can at least. But if I were to hear someone speaking to me in Japanese, I wouldn't have a clue what they're saying. So it's not my job to teach them English or Portuguese. It's truly, if I want to communicate with that person, it should be my intuition or my desire to learn Japanese. Excuse me, and not putting the burden of work or of difficulties on the other people. We all should be here first, of course, to love God, and then to love our neighbor. Unfortunately, many people think that we're supposed to love ourselves first so that we can love our neighbor, and that's a lie that Satan has put into society today. We automatically love ourselves. We don't have to add to that. In fact, we need to kill that. The Bible teaches us to crucify ourselves daily. Right. And our pride and our self-love is very evident, it's there. What's so-called low self-esteem and all this is simply a love of ourselves, shown in a different way than someone who is very demonstrates his pride in different areas. But anyhow, what we need to be doing is developing our love languages and being able to love others indifferent of how they understand love.
One of the things you really need to watch out for, especially women, the Bible does tell husbands to love their wives, but women, we need to respect our husbands. And I've said it in other episodes, and I'm going to say it again. Do watch out for how much Hallmark you're watching. Hallmark is really pushing the idea that what you have, the partner you have, is not good enough, and there's someone better waiting. Y'all know the recipe. I mean, we make fun of it. You can go to YouTube and see a million different spoofs on the Hallmark recipe, and it is always the same. And there is always one person who becomes dissatisfied with the person they are currently with and suddenly goes home and magically falls in love with someone. And what is a mother figure, and it's almost always a mother figure or a friend figure in these episodes, and they're always female. They're always advising, follow your heart. That is straight out of hell, and you need to stop watching it. Do not follow your heart. Your heart is desperately wicked. Who can tame it? Your heart is never the issue that you should follow. And when you're speaking about the love languages, if you get a Hallmark philosophy into you, follow your heart, you will straight down to the divorce court. And you will be before a judge before you know it, because there's someone better, generally wearing plaid. And he lives in the country. Or you live in the country and suddenly you're someone better is in the city. Knock it off. Hallmark has become the Christian soap opera channel. We wouldn't for any money in the world watch a soap opera, most Christians. We know that's wrong. But most of us in Christendom have no problem whatsoever binge watching 6 hours of Hallmark movies at a time. We don't have any problem with that. And ladies, it's as bad as men looking at porn. It's as bad for our spirituality. We have got to knock it off. I realize there's no sex scene. It's all clean. But the philosophy is straight out of hell. You have got to watch what you're watching. Pay attention to what they're teaching you, because it will reflect into your marriage with dissatisfaction.
Satan and the world are very astute. They know that if they come only from one direction, they're only going to hit a group of people. And yes, Disney now is pushing the homosexual agenda, and unfortunately Christendom is not paying attention. And those of us who are paying attention, we refute that, but then we go to something else that Satan is using in a different aspect to generate a different dissatisfaction or different sin in our lives. And we need to develop a strong love for God and for others, because first of all, it's the way we're going to reach the world. Many people, as a saying goes, they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And as we show our love to our neighbors, as we show our love to those who are not saved yet, and God opens doors many times because of the love that we show for others and the kindness and the care that we do. But as a mate, as a couple, as a marriage, your love, your marriage, is only going to be as good as you invest into it. Hallmark makes it's going to be perfect from the get-go, or you're having difficulties here, so you're going to find a perfect other person who will generate a perfect relationship and will bring this perfect love into your life. And that's not true. Love is an action. Love is something that we develop, something that we grow. It's something that we have to learn and strengthen as we go along. As we first married, or when we were first married, our love, of course, we had love for each other, but our love has grown. We have strengthened our love, and many of the trials that God has allowed to come into our lives, or many of the trials that we have caused upon our own self, we have used that as not stumbling blocks, but as exercise equipment, let's say, to strengthen our marriage and to strengthen our relationship. Love is something that you need to learn. Love is something that you need to develop. Love is something that you need to grow in. Love is an exercise that needs to be continually worked on. Just like our muscles, if you use them, they will strengthen. But once you stop using them, they will also deteriorate.
Yeah. It's interesting about the growing in love. That's a very vague statement, and once again, I would point you to the book. Let me point this out. Especially as the children come into the home. A husband is working. He is providing. In his view, he is loving.
Many men, yeah.
Many men feel this way. And yet, the wife feels completely unloved. Because she is slaving away with the children. She's got the house. She may work a second job. I'm an advocate for women staying home and raising their children. I think we'd have a better generation if we did.
Yes.
But she has done different things, and she does not see his providing as love. She sees it as his requirement.
As a responsibility.
And so he's done his job. Where's the love? So there is a lot involved in learning to understand each other's love. I'm going to use an example. This is between my mother and I. My mother's and his mother's love language, both of them, is acts of service. Guess what? That is not mine.
Or mine.
I literally get irritated. I'm like, would you please stop and talk to me? Because I really want quality time. That is my love language. So growing up, I had a very tenuous relationship with my mother because her love language is act of service. And I saw a woman who never stopped working, who always put work ahead of us. And that's how I viewed it. We don't matter. She cares more about her, whatever, her garden, her work. It took me a long time into adulthood to realize she was trying to express love by providing and doing things. And what was I getting? You won't spend time with me. I don't love you. You don't love me. So it took a really long time in getting into adulthood before my mom and I's relationship could be mended to a point that I do understand. Do I appreciate it? Not as much as she thinks I do, but I know that when she's out there in that garden of hers, she's thinking about, but I'm providing you food because I love you. I'm providing you a pleasant place because I love you. And I have to choose as an adult, now that I understand, to see what she's doing and say, that's fine, I understand she's showing love. Is the way I want it? Absolutely not. But I have to understand that's how she perceives that she's showing love. His mother is the same way. Always doing. And
hers are more treats and things like that, and so it's more
enjoy.
Yummy, which I enjoy. But still, it's gifts of service, and mine is words of affirmation. And so we have, but like I was saying, it's not our responsibility to have other people love us the way we want to be loved.
Right.
It's our responsibility to love others the way they need to be loved, and to learn all these languages so that we can understand that they do love us and that they're trying to show us our love towards us. The more I understand all 5 love languages, or any form of people trying to show me love, the more I will accept that love and the more I will grow in that love. The more fluent I learn any language, the more comfortable I am with speaking that language, and the more comfortable I am with someone speaking that language to me. So the more I understand how people love me, and the more I understand how I can love other people, the more comfortable I can become at showing my love towards my wife, at showing love towards my children, at showing love towards my
parents,
any person,
anyone you meet,
any relationship that we encounter, because I'm developing the love. I'm developing that language in myself and learning, understanding, so that we can be what we're supposed to be. We don't need to worry about what others are doing or how they're doing it. Our responsibility and our concern is what we're doing.
Right.
And as we develop our love languages, and yes, we learn how to say words of affirmation, we learn the physical touch, and we learn a quality time, and we learn gifts, and we learn service. As we show love to other people, we also become more comfortable at receiving that love from those people as well. So just a little bit about love. We'll continue. Of course, it's a foundational truth for the relationship, and we'll develop more aspects of it down the line. But thank you for being with us today, and develop your love languages. Not yours, that's automatically yours, but the ones that the others need to learn, or that you need to share with others. So learn how to show your love towards your mate, especially, of course, for this conversation, but that you can be in
communion.
In communion, a linguistic. I love linguistics. A specialist. Thank you for being with us, building families in the faith, and we hope that you'll join with us again next week.